The world is AI obsessed, and I'm a huge fan and supporter of AI, but you don't need to throw it at every single problem. Sometimes the best solution is a simple if this, then that piece of logic. So when should you use AI and when should you use automations? That's what we're breaking down in this video, and it's important for you to understand the differences and to get it right. So if you're ready to learn about when to use AI versus automations, you're in the right place. Stick around and let's get into it. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth and this is Gap Consulting. It's our mission here to help you unlock the full potential of Airtable and the related no-code software tools in this space. Now in this video, we're breaking down AI versus automation. When should you use one or the other? And what are they best at? And where do they not really work that well? But before we get to that, I want to first invite you to join us for a strategy call. If you're building in Airtable and you're a little stuck, you don't know where to go next, our team is standing by to hop on a call and help you with a path forward. So if you're looking to get unstuck or just gain some clarity on what's possible and how you can build it, book a 20-minute free call with our team at gapconsulting.io/strategy-call. But without further ado, let's hop into the heart of the video. We're going to start with some simple analogies. So first, I want to frame our thinking around automation. And the best analogy that I can come up with here is the dependable train. A train goes from point A to point B, and you know exactly how it's going to get there because the train cannot go off of the tracks that are laid. So it's very predictable where it will be and where it will go. It follows the same rules every time. This is an Airtable automation. Airtable automations have very specific logic. They will follow the steps and they will execute every time very quickly. When do we want to use this? Well, anytime that you have the exact same things happening over and over. One quick way is if you find yourself copying and pasting, you could probably solve this with an automation so that you're not doing it manually. But it's more than that. Anytime that you have dates that follow a predictable pattern, anytime that you have specific status or formulaic things that happen, any instance where you're executing over a predictable pattern, there's a good chance that you need automation. Now let's talk about the benefits. Why is automation awesome? Well, it's really predictable. That can be really helpful in most business cases. And in addition, it costs pennies. I mean, frankly, you're probably not even needing to pay for automation within Airtable because Airtable is quite generous with their automation plans, and you're not charged extra for when automations occur. Now, if you have to build automations outside of Airtable, there are third-party tools that allow for more robust automation, but for the purpose of this video, we're assuming Airtable automations and we're staying in that particular lane. So what's the drawback here? Well, sadly, it's dumb. There's no human-like thinking or element to an automation. If a customer sends an email saying, "I'm upset," the automation has no context. It can't think, it can't feel, it has no context whatsoever about what's happening. It's just following the steps that you told it to do. Now, let's compare that to AI, specifically a field agent in Airtable. What is an AI agent like? Well, it's more similar to a creative assistant. Imagine that you have an intern sitting next to you who you can assign things to and ask them to think. They can extract context. They can make some decisions based on what they are interpreting. You can give an assistant a messy pile of notes and say, "Look through all of this and tell me the 3 most important things that I need to know." That's something that AI can do for us in Airtable. So when should we use AI or field agents? Well, sentiment analysis, for example. If you need to analyze how someone feels within a process, take our feedback example where someone sends an email saying that they're upset. That's sentiment analysis, and AI can pick up on that. It can use the context and figure out what the sentiment is. It's also great at categorizing. You can take the example of a lot of messy text and ask it to summarize or categorize that information. So AI can help us by thinking a little bit. It's more like having an assistant than having a robot. The benefit here should be obvious, but AI is able to get context. It's able to think and therefore read between the lines. And that is something an automation just can't do. But there can be drawbacks. AI takes a little bit of time. It's not as quick or as instantaneous as an automation. It has to process, and that might slow your system down a bit. It also requires credits to operate, so this can increase your bill. And lastly, AI is prone to hallucination. So it's possible, as I'm sure you've heard, that it can make some stuff up, and it's not always 100% accurate. So let's summarize all of this in 4 key categories. Number 1, what is the logic layer? For automation, it's very simple. If X, then Y. Automations are on the train track and they go exactly where you point them. For AI, it's probabilistic. It's not necessarily X then Y. It's going to take the context and make its best judgment. Condition number 2 is speed. How fast do these things work? Well, automation, it's practically instant. The only time that it might take longer is if you're including script in your Airtable automation. Otherwise, very fast. On the other hand, comparing AI speed, it can take 3 to 10 seconds, maybe even longer if you're having it analyze a large amount of information. Feature number 3 is cost. Automations are very inexpensive. You already have a bunch of automation available in your Airtable plan. And if you need to go beyond that, it's probably time to upgrade to the next tier, either Teams or Business. But Airtable has a lot of automation available in their plans. So it's probably not increasing your bill by much at all. On the other hand, we're talking about cost for AI, and it's variable. Depending on the model you're using in your AI, the cost of your AI agents can go up and up, especially if you're asking it to do more complicated thinking. And this can drive up your bill, and you may need to purchase additional AI credits. Now, our 4th feature is going to be, what are these things best for? Automations are best for calculations, notifications, or any place where you're going to follow an exact pattern. By contrast, AI is best anytime that we need some sort of summary or categorization, some human-like element inserted into the process. So let's take everything we just learned and break it down in an actual example. And so here I have the simple feedback table. Now, what we have here on the left is the customer comment. So the customer has reached out through some sort of form, or maybe they've sent us an email, and we put this data into our Airtable database. We also have a status field where we track the status of the information that's come in. We have an urgency field. We have a received date field. And then lastly, we have a notification sent date. So let's break this down step by step, talking about when we would use AI and when we would use automation as part of a workflow around this exact scenario where we take customer feedback and we're going to do something with it. So number 1, first we need to assess, what is the nature of this feedback? Are they leaving us a glowing review? Are they needing help? What is exactly going on here? So we've got an urgency field. Urgency set up so that we can ask our agent, this is AI, we're saying, hey, listen, you're a customer service feedback analyst. Your job is to triage these support requests. Here's what you're supposed to do. And in this case, the AI is outputting a number between 1 and 5. So the higher the urgency, the bigger the number that we expect AI to output here. So here we go. We've tied in the customer comment. We're referencing the very comment for each record here. And note that we have options for how the information will show up. This is a newer feature that Airtable recently released. We can change the formatting to either say commas yes or no. We can set preset variables here for the numbers. We can show a separator, abbreviations, etc. We can also choose our triggers. So we can set up a schedule to run this. We can set under specific conditions, or we can just say automatic generation. Now also note that we can change the output. So here we have a number that was set up by default, but what if I want to actually make this a single select field? I can make that choice here and then actually add the options. So I can add options 1 through 5 pretty quickly, and now they're in a single select field, which makes it a little bit easier for us to sort this data in interfaces. I can also choose the tools here if I'm going to enable web search, and I can select the model. This is something that a lot of people overlook, but do check out the different models. Airtable is calling out which of these has the lowest cost, and you might want to use Claude over GPT or maybe Llama or something else. So you've got a ton of different options available to you. In this case, let's go with Claude 4.6 Sonnet. Now I'm going to save my changes without updating, and now I'll select the times that I want to actually run this. So what's the urgency? If we get feedback that says great customer service, AI is going to do the thinking for us. It's going to decide relatively low urgency, guys. It's a 1. What about unable to reset my password? This could be a big deal, right? A little bit higher, okay? The invoice email was not received. What's happening here? Urgency of 2. So logged out from the system unexpectedly, AI runs, gives it a 2. So you can see that while I might not agree with all of these, I would maybe escalate some of these things beyond a 2. AI is making its own determination as to what the urgency of our situation is, and it's making a selected output for us. So we can then set up rules that say, under certain conditions, we need to address these different feedback elements. So this is where AI comes into play. But let's now talk about how can we work on notification. Let's say that we have a rule inside of our organization. Anytime we get a record that is a 2 urgency or above, in those conditions, we want to send a Slack message internally. This is an automation. And we can set up an automation that is based on these exact rules. Because of the fact that it's the same thing every time, it's going to follow the same train tracks that we lay. So let's do that. First, we say a record meets conditions or matches conditions. In our feedback table, we're looking specifically for the urgency is any of, and then we can select any of the higher numbers that are the ones that we want to include for immediate notification. In these conditions, we also want to use some kind of a stopgap so that we don't notify repeatedly over the same feedback. So generally what we do in a condition like this is update when the automation runs. So in this case, we want to see that the notification date is empty. Because if it has been filled out, that means we've already sent a notification. We don't want to do it again. So just like this, we can choose a record to make sure that it's matching our conditions, and it is. We have an escalated situation where the system logged somebody out. It was given a 2 or higher urgency, and you'll notice that it does not have a notification sent date. So let's use this record. And what are the steps we want it to do? Well, the first thing is we want it to update the record. So let's go back in and update the record with the information about when we send the notification. So we're going to map it to the same record that triggered the automation, and we're going to then go down to our notification sent date and choose dynamic, and we're going to update it with the time that this automation runs. And then lastly, we can bring it into Slack here and send a message. So we can send a message to our team. We can choose if it's going to a specific person or if it's going to go to a channel that says, hey, we just got this new piece of information and we need to jump on this because this is a more urgent thing that needs attention. So this is the difference between AI, which is doing thinking, categorization, summarization, and automation, which is saying, you told me the rules to follow and I will follow them every time. I hope you got a ton of value from this video and it helps you build smarter workflows. If you're always leaning into AI, pause, come back to this video, and think about whether it should be actual AI or automation. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to give us a thumbs up here and subscribe to the channel so you do. Of course, if you have questions that we didn't quite answer here, swing by our website because we've put together a ton of resources available for you. And of course, most importantly, keep on building.